Ladies and gentlemen, I want to address Alhaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu, our president. Like I always say, who they follow me, no fit misroad. So if you are looking for which path to follow in the affairs of this country, I am always available. Follow me and you no go misroad. Where bad leaders dey, bad people dey to do their work. Either they see money collect, or they are just praising their tribesman, or they are just praising the man who is of the same religion with them. So, my purpose is to make a difference. Our president, Alhaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you are a very brave man. Yes, you get mind. It is good to have a president who is brave. Because when you are a brave president, you are able to take unpopular decisions that will eventually work for the good of the people. Sometimes it's not always too good for a leader to be afraid to take unpopular decisions. That is why I like you. But I have this to say. The problem comes when you begin to take unpopular decisions that have the negative effect on the people, on the system, negative effect on the economy, on our democracy. So we have two types of unpopular decisions. We have positive unpopular decisions and negative unpopular decisions. I will give you two examples of these decisions that you have made. When you came to power, one of the first things you did was the removal of subsidy. Removal of subsidy to me is an unpopular but positive decision, because I know the effect that will have on our economy, and I knew what the country was passing through under the subsidy regime. Even years back, under Goodluck Jonathan, when you and among other opposition groups came out in Lagos to do Occupy Nigeria, I did not support, because I believe Goodluck Jonathan had enough ground to remove subsidy there. If you guys had convinced Nigerians to support Goodluck Jonathan then, I think your job would have been made easier in 2023. But you all condemned the removal of subsidy. But small boy like me, I knew that Nigeria had no choice but to remove subsidy. So that you removed subsidy is an unpopular positive decision. But you see, this last one you took by slamming a state of emergency on Rivers State, and not just doing that, you suspended the governor. Mr. President, that can never be right. And anyone who is supporting you for that decision is an enemy of this country. Yes, Psycho fans will give reasons. The judiciary have supported you. The legislature have supported you. But does that make it right? It is wrong in every ramification. So, Mr. President, if you don't want to end up on the negative side of Nigeria history, I want you to rescind that decision. Otherwise, the history of this country is never going to speak well of you. They said Obasanjo did it in a very different circumstance. But I'm saying, if Obasanjo, coming from a military background, and he was once a military leader in this country, could make such a mistake, is it enough for you, who comes from a democratic background, to follow the footsteps of Obasanjo? You are supposed to correct the mistakes that the likes of Obasanjo made. But here we are, blatantly slammed a state of emergency on Rivers State. You, an executive president who was elected, you suspended another head of an executive in a state, in a federation, in a democracy. It was never designed to work like that. And you removed him, thereby setting aside the sovereignty of the people of Rivers State. How can that ever be right, Mr. President? How can that ever be explained? that a democratically elected president suspended another democratically elected governor. You did not appoint him. It's not one of your ministers that you can hire and fire. It can never be right. Moreover, the conditions for slamming a state of emergency on a state did not suffice in the case of Rivers State. We all agree that state of emergency is the last bus stop. When all other efforts have failed, when the police have been unable to stem the tide of violence, when the soldiers have failed to bring peace upon the entity, when all measures have failed, when there is chaos, when there is an uprising that the whole world can see, it's an absolute decision to slam a state of emergency. You don't slam a state of emergency upon a people based on assumption, based on security reports. No, it shouldn't be based on security reports that the ordinary public cannot verify. Security reports, it should be physical. Reports that are reported in the newspaper, in the media, that all eyes can see. There has to be evidence of total chaos. But again, that is not to say you should suspend the democratically elected government. Where is it done? Nobody is going to support that anywhere in the world. You make our country a laughing stock by doing that, because they don't want to interfere in the affairs of another nation. Does not mean you are right. They will laugh at us. It ridicules our passport. It's not only 419 criminality that ridicules our passport. Ridiculous decisions like this also do. So, Mr. President, it is never too late. You have to change your mind. Now that the governors have gone to court, change your mind. You have appointed a sole administrator, just like we suffered under the military. Mr. President, why are you making us a laughing stock? Why are you repeating the errors of the military under a democracy? A sole administrator that the people did not appoint will now be managing the purse of a state without the oversight function of a legislature. This is an aberration. Where is it done? It is indeed an aberration. So, Mr. President, you have to change your mind and reverse that decision. And when you do, you will end up in the positive side of Nigeria history. I'm saying this so that it will be on record as the brave leader that you are. I'm not expecting that you will listen to this voice of wisdom and change your mind. You are 73 years old. It was at that age that my father died in 2009. Before my father died, he was seeking advice for me to even run the family, because to him I was a capable son. If I could advise my father then, I can as well advise you, Mr. President. I am that knowledgeable and I am that mature. Mr. President, reverse that decision for the sake of Nigeria, for the sake of your legacy. If I were you, between years of wicked and Sim Fubara, I would rather not take sides, because everyone believes now that you have the wicked. If I were you, Mr. President, I would have made friends with Fubara and Wike as well. You can still control Rivers State. If I were you, I would have been very diplomatic about it, irrespective of how you want to make Wike happy or compensate him for what he did in 2023. I will tell Wike, calm down, take it easy. It's not like that. Be a father to both of them, and then you gain their support. 2027. Rather than this is definitely going to be in the negative side of Nigeria history, when the history of Nigeria is being written. Yes, after you've gone. Mr. President, the purpose of my broadcast is to beckon on you, plead with you to reverse that decision and let the governor take his position. Use this period to negotiate peace with them, peace with the Assembly of Rivers State, to calm their nerves and the nerves of everyone who is aggrieved in the Rivers State issue.